Join us on a journey through the legendary town of Tombstone, Arizona.
We're in Tombstone at the OK Corral.
It's an old town setting, very touristy.
That's great though.
So we've got a couple of days here.
We're gonna go talk to some cowboys here.
Watch a gunfight, check out the cemetery,
It's gonna be great.
stagecoach ride, take us back to the Old West. Tombstone was founded in 1879 during a silver mining boom by a prospector named Edward Schieffelin.
The story on Eddie Schieffelin is he came here in search of mining, which he found silver. But initially he was warned by the Army in Fort Huachuca, don't go there, the only thing you're going to find is your tombstone. And that's how it got named Tombstone, Arizona.
In its heyday, it had a population somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 people. The exact number is hard to pin down due to the transient nature of the mining community at the time. It was home to outlaws, lawmen, saloons, and brothels, making it one of the most lawless towns of the Old West. Tombstone is about a 75-mile drive from Tucson. We actually drove in about an hour and a half from Chiricahua National Monument. We are on our 13th day of our 28-day Southwest adventure. If you like day hiking, Chiricahua National Monument is a spectacular place for that, and you can find a link to our video in the description below. So our first stop here in the town of Tombstone was at the Visitor Center. We were able to get a map and a general idea of what to do. Everything within Tombstone's historic district is within walking distance, with the exception of Boothill Cemetery, which is a little bit over a half-mile away. I do recommend stopping at the Visitor Center to get your bearings and to plan out your time in Tombstone, as some events are time critical. So we did stop at the OK Corral as one of our first thing to do. For $10, you can get a ticket to the OK Corral Museum, the fight at the OK Corral, the Historama, which is the 30-minute overview of the history of the town.
We're gonna walk to town. We're gonna go get ourselves a copy of the Tombstone Epitaph paper.
Yeah.
And go to Big Case Saloon at some point in time. Check that out. Check some of these galleries out of here. We're gonna go over to Boothill Cemetery, see who's buried over here in Tombstone. And we're just gonna relax and enjoy ourselves. We're gonna get an old-time photo. And we're gonna enjoy ourselves.
Take a walk with us as we explore what this town has to offer.
Clantons and McLaury's.
You guys are good guys?
Just we were selling stolen cattle and then stealing it back.
Oh, okay.
That's not bad.
You just gonna have to come see it.
The good guys, and they were the bad guys. It was selling stolen cattle, right?
Yep.
That's the story.
I'm gonna say big butt selling it back to the people you stole it from.
So who were these guys, and what role did they play in the infamous OK Corral shootout? To find that out, let's head over to the OK Corral Museum. Clanton and the McLaury brothers were cattle rustlers who were involved in other illegal activities. Needless to say, their line of work put them in direct conflict with the law. That, and the fact that they had an ongoing feud with the Earp brothers, who were Tombstone's lawmen, and their rebel-rouser gunfighter friend, Doc Holliday, it sets the stage for what led to the infamous OK Corral shootout. Tensions between the Clanton McLaury gang and the Earp faction erupted in violence on October 26, 1881, when Virgil Earp, the town marshal, and his deputies, Morgan and Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, decided to disarm the Cowboys. When all was said and done, 3 lay dead.
Frank McLaury, dead. Tom McLaury, dead. Billy Clanton, dead. And that was it. Over before it ever started. 2 months after this gunfight, Virgil Earp was ambushed outside the Crystal Palace Saloon. 3 shotguns went off, but he still refused to die. Crippled up pretty bad, Virgil wandered the West until death found him in Nevada in 1905. Not as lucky was Wyatt's kid brother Morgan. He was shot in the back and killed playing a game of pool up on Allen Street. Morgan died at midnight, March 19, 1882. Now in 1887, the year this whole town began to fall apart, after a lifetime of drinking and smoking, well, tuberculosis caught up with yours truly up in Colorado. I don't care to talk about it. Wyatt Earp was the last man standing out of all this. He'd spent his days traveling. Wyatt made his way from Idaho to Alaska, finally ending up in Jazz Age Hollywood, searching for another tombstone and the chance to get things right again. He never would find it. When Wyatt died in Los Angeles in 1929, just ahead of his 81st birthday, his final words? Suppose.
The gunfight reenactment brought the OK Corral story and the characters to life. The museum itself provided various historical displays, including 1880 stable, buggies, saddles, and fire equipment, a functioning blacksmith shop, Doc Holliday's girlfriend's Big Nose Kate's living quarters, and a collection of various historical photographs. It was a comprehensive and immersive experience, well worth the $10 entry fee. We just watched the Historama of the town that's too tough to die. No videos or pictures could be taken while it was going on, but they gave the history, last 50 years of Tombstone. What was the gist of what you heard?
Well, aside from the gunfight, when Wyatt Earp moved out of Tombstone in 1883, 1884, the silver mining industry kind of moved in here and kept the town moving for a good 30, 40, 50 years. And they had some problems with the water pumps and keeping them things going.
So they call it the town that was too tough to die because at different times they had fires going through the town, they rebuilt, another fire, rebuilt.
Eventually, in the 20s, 30s, they shut down the silver mines.
Definitely too tough to die. You can take a trolley tour instead of a carriage ride. $15. Taking a stagecoach tour is a great way to hear all about the history, legends, and lore of the historic town of Tombstone.
It's actually a functional replica of an 1890 Continental that was one of the last and largest coach models ever produced back in the day. And there's not many differences between this one and the originals, but I'll start with the biggest difference first. You see all the originals, they're easily worth $2 million a piece, and if you could find one for sale, it'd go for way more than that. But to build out one like this, it would only cost you between $40,000 to $70,000. But now all the originals, they also would have been made of wood, so when they were dried, they were also a lot heavier than this one. This one only weighs about 2,000 pounds itself. The horse hitch was a bit different too. They'd have had between 4 and 6 horses out in front of their coaches, and they're more of your saddle breed, so they needed all those horses to pull those wagons. But we only use 2 because they're draft horse and they can easily push 3 times their own body weight. And each one of those boys out in front outweighs the coach all by himself.
Sit back and relax while we do head back over 140 years.
So to do the stagecoach ride, it is $15 a piece. The Tombstone Epitaph was founded in 1890. It is the oldest continually published newspaper in Arizona, and it has played a significant role in documenting the history and culture of the Old West. We will be doing the Boothill Graveyard. This place is on the National Registry of Historic Places. Let's go see what it's all about. Boothill Graveyard was originally called the Old City Cemetery. It opened in 1878 and stopped accepting burials in 1884. $6 admission. They give you a map, and inside is a listing of all those that are buried here. They used to pile stones on top to prevent the varmints from taking the bones.
We're at the gravesite of Lester Moore, who was a Wells Fargo delivery driver delivering a package to a guy who he got a dispute over. And poor Lester took 4 slugs with a 44. No less, no more.
Oh, poor George Johnson. He didn't know he was buying a stolen horse. So he was hanged by mistake. He was right, we was wrong. But we strung him up and now he's gone.
We are at the gravesite of the infamous Mary Lum. She was called China Mary. She ran a business which brought in about 400 immigrants from China to work in Tombstone, but she was big. She lived to the age of 67 in Tombstone, Arizona. What'd you think?
There seem to be a few themes running through here. They give you a pamphlet. You can read all about the different grave sites. And some of the themes that I read were accidental. Some of it was poisoning. The accidental ones are kind of sad. Most of those were younger kids drowning, falling off of things, breaking their bones. Some of it was shootouts, quarrels, fights over men. Some of it was lynching.
How about getting run over by a stagecoach?
Yeah, that was kind of grotesque. Getting our head run over by a wheel. That was kind of an accidental one.
What about the McLaury brothers and Billy Bob Clanton behind you?
Yeah, and we all know about that one. That's the OK Corral shootout. I think these guys got set up.
You're on the McLaury brothers and the Clanton boys side?
I am. How about you?
Hear the rest of the story about Boothill and Tombstone, Betty.
Yeah, the guy mentioned that in 1884, the other cemetery, the Boothill Cemetery, was closed for burial. He didn't have a good answer as to why some of the burial sites were after that date. This is the newer cemetery and the only cemetery that is open to new burials today. It is just down the road on Allen Street. But it's interesting that he didn't know the story as to why some of the people were buried after 1884 up there. But the only thing we could come up with is there were some special cases like China Mary, who was infamous in town, and so they made exceptions for some people. Now in the Boothill Cemetery there was also a Jewish memorial which was set up in recognition of some of the Jewish people that were buried up in that area. And in addition, there were Indians that were buried, the Yaqui Indians. And over time, the Jewish and the Yaqui Indian burial plots got taken over by Mother Nature. And they set up a memorial up there, and they wanted to recognize the Jewish pioneers and the Indians that were brothers to them.
Okay, you heard
The rest of the story.
not from Paul Harvey, but from Czyz Adventures.
We're going to stop here at the Tombstone Courthouse.
This two-story Victorian courthouse was built in 1882 and once housed the offices of the sheriff, recorder, treasurer, board of supervisors, jail, and courtrooms. Today, it serves as a museum filled with exhibits that showcase the rich history of the area.
These 5 were in the Boothill Cemetery. Picture the 5 men from the Boothill Cemetery being hung legally from the gallows. The only known photo of the actual gallows. $7 to get in. Just leaving the courthouse. I thought it was interesting in there to kind of bring together the Boothill Cemetery and this place, because the 5 men that are buried over there for killing some people during a robbery, they were hung on gallows, and they talked all about it here.
They were jailed here before they were hung. The ringleader was basically hung afterwards, but it took a while. He was sentenced to 20 years, but the people...
He was sentenced to life, and the people didn't agree with it, so they put a mob together from Bisbee, got him out of the jailhouse, and hung him right in the streets.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
The Old Tombstone Western Town is a family-friendly theme park that offers a Wild West experience with gunfight shows, comedy performances, and interactive attractions.
I think this guy's been in here a little too long. Definitely cared for some tourists. They have a gunfight going on right now over this fence. We're here at a really good time because parking isn't a problem. There's not a ton of people. No major crowds trying to get into anything, so... Right?
We're in Old Tombstone right now, and we just missed the gunfight by half an hour. But we saw the original gunfight at the OK Corral. So
That one's good.
A lot of these are similar. Some are indoor. Some are funnier than others. The actors are a little different. But
Yeah.
Old Tombstone is pretty cool. I mean, they normally charge to get in here, but there's a booth right there to charge it, but today it's just walk in and check things out.
It's right next to the Gunfighter Hall of Fame.
And not just the Tombstone Gunfighter. So you got everybody in here from Wild Bill Hickok to Bonnie and Clyde to Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. You could spend all day in here, and you could take a college course on Western gunfighters.
Be sure to catch the view from here of the sheep in the mountain.
They would head for that sheep. Once they hit that sheep, they were in Tombstone.
As you walk down Allen Street, you'll find plenty of places to quench your thirst, including Doc Holliday's Saloon, Wyatt Earp's Oriental Saloon, the Crystal Palace, and Big Nose Kate's Saloon. We dined at both the Crystal Palace and Big Nose Kate's, but our favorite was Big Nose Kate's for its atmosphere and live entertainment. Rolling up the streets here in Tombstone, finishing off our night and heading to Saguaro National Park tomorrow. Any parting thoughts?
Well, lot to do, lot to see, a lot of history. It's a town too tough to die.
Y'all come back now, you hear?